Let's mass make some vintage tickets using just 3 supplies. Hello and welcome to the Treasured Page. I'm Melanie and this is our quiet crafting space. Well, I thought I would jump on and do a little project for Mass Make March. So I just thought I'd put the camera on because I'm just about to make some labels for an ephemera holder. They are so useful to have. So I've got some spare scrap grungy papers that are not going to end up in a journal. I've just got some here. There's some interesting things on them, but they're just not making the cut to what I wanted them for. So these are spares, and some of them have got stains in wrong places. They're just not that. They're just not what I wanted. I've got some digital kit here. This was from the Marion North Journal from ages ago. I think I've had that in a windowsill and it's faded in the sun. I don't want to waste the paper. I'm just going to repurpose the scraps that I've got here. I've got this one, which is a packaging style paper. It's got some ink splatters on it, and I just want to see the difference that we can get over a few different types of paper, all that can be achieved by splattering some tea or coffee around. And if you like to print off digital kits, maybe you've got some that the ink was running out, or they're faded, or something's not quite right. So these are perfect. I'm going to use these. I'm going to be using my Archival waterproof black ink, and I've got a selection of stamps. So this is all we're going to be doing. I'm going to take one sheet of paper first, and we'll do this one at a time. So taking my stamps, what I've got here are some ticket stamps which I've collected up over the years, and I've got some vintagey ones there. I've got some ticket stamps here which I've never even used, and I've got these ones which I have used. So you'll find these on eBay, Amazon, places like that. Fairly inexpensive and quite useful for things like this. I think that this is quite a nice background for the tickets, so I'm going to do that. What I'm doing, taking off the backing sheet here, and I'm going to take my ink and I'm just going to put that all over the stamps as they are. I am not peeling them off. I'm just going to use it as one big stamp. So the key to this, I think, is to get up very close to the paper and then just stamp them down like that. Some of them aren't straight looking at it, so I should have possibly adjusted that. They're not perfect, but they're going to be interesting when we cut them out. The other thing we could do is just get a bit of script and put some over there, maybe aiming for the tickets themselves. Just bring that in like that, bit of interest. In fact, we'll go over a bit more here. This background paper is quite light, so I'm just adding in some interesting text. And put your stamps to good use. Pressing down on all of the stamps and then getting the images like that. This creates a fun background paper as well, much more interesting than when we started. Like that. And then I'm just going to put them down the bottom like this. So we won't get those last 3 on there, but this will be a nice repeat pattern and it'll be quite interesting. This becomes then an interesting paper. You can fussy cut the tickets out, or this could be used as something else, make an envelope, or this could be now a much more interesting page that could be put into a journal. This is also a nice way to decorate an existing page in the journal. If you're feeling that it's not inspiring you, you might want a really busy background so that you can put something nice and bright over the top of it. So I'm just going to add these in. Okay, so that's that idea, using up an old digital kit that has faded or otherwise just not done what you need it to do. We seem to have lost this one, so I'm just going to put that up there. That's better. Nice when you see a variation of colour. This one's darker than this one. I think that's really interesting. And now you could have that as a page in a journal or a trifold or something. It becomes an interesting decorated piece of paper. And also you can cut the tickets out and you'd have lots and lots of tickets. So that is a really good way to mass make tickets and have an interesting background. So that's that idea. Next one. Okay, I'm going to use my script stamp again, and I'm going to take a colour that I think might be interesting for a ticket. I'm going to use green, although I am drawn to purple. I might use the purple as well. And I'm just going to put down this colour, which is an archival ink again. This one is peeled paint. So I'm just going to rub that over this script stamp. Again, these can be picked up most craft shops, but I just want to just put down some very pale little detail at the background. Just stamping down a little bit of that detail and seeing if we can get some texture onto the paper. This is just a lovely way of making your papers more interesting, but also just fun for decorative reasons if we want to put down some stamping. So to me, straight away, that is more interesting. That would look quite nice as a backing paper now for a tag, for instance, and especially the paler one that allows you to write on it. I'm tearing this bit down because it will interfere with the tickets, but that's a useful, interesting scrap now, so I can add that to the scrap tray. Okay, I'm just going to put that to one side and we're going to stamp on that in a minute, and I'm going to continue this. I do quite like using the green. I'm just going to put the ink on my little script stamp here. So this time I'm orientating it in a portrait way, and I'm just doing the same thing, just applying pressure randomly, not pushing down, so I just get some detail. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. Push down a bit more firmly now. Hopefully it'll pick up the bits that I didn't use the ink on there. So that's quite cool. Okay. And then the same again there, just dabbing it on like that. And we'll put a bit in the middle so that we've got it, and down here. And now we're just going over it, filling in any gaps and spaces. Alright, so that is interesting as well. That's quite nice that way up. It's nice that way up. So that was peeled paint. So now I'm looking at my ticket stamps and just putting the black ink all over the back of these stamps, really pushing down, applying quite a lot of ink on there, and then flipping it over and putting them down like that, and then giving it a good press. I could put something, giving them a good press, just use this actually, and there we go. So that's quite fun. They are coming out. Nice suggestion of the tickets, and you could just make out the words there, and I think that's really interesting. Now if I'd gone right up to the line, I might have been able to fit these in, but I haven't quite got it, so I might even, I'm going to overlap those top two because I think that could even look interesting. Just push those down. There we go. That's quite fun. Quite like the overlap. Oopsie. So you can play about with different colour inks. That would look great. I'm just going to do this again, overlapping those two. Quite like that. And then making sure, just push that down, put a book on it, something heavy if you want to, if you can't get the pressure with your hand. And there we go. Sorry if there's a glare on the light, but those are our tickets. And then I've got these ones, which are some nice elements. I've got a pocket watch, a book, little vintage card, just some nice stamps. Just have a look if you've got any stamps at all. If you've got wooden ones, if you've got rubber stamps, any stamps would be great. You can often pick up these in charity sales and car boot sales. Fellow crafters, you may be able to borrow some. Just push those down They're cool. Just add them in where you can see space. Okay, there we go. So we've got lots of sheets of these now. Okay, we've got lots of sheets coming on now. These are just nice little page embellishments that can slot in little torn pieces. It doesn't matter if we haven't got all the edge of it, because the paper behind, if there's some interest, that will do the talking. It's a bit of an inky task. You do get a bit covered, but it's quite fun. This is a variety page with all the different things here, so it's quite fun to do it this way, where you've used one sheet of paper but you've actually shown off 4 sets of your stickers or stamps. So I'm going to add that one there, and then just rub this over there. There we go, just push that down. Okay, that one didn't work. And where this one hasn't quite worked, it's interesting, but that's almost a little bit too pale. So I'm just going to reapply that one. And if it overlaps, then that's not a problem. Just put this one back in. That's better. Why am we not getting Liverpool? That way, and I just want to be able to see the word Liverpool Street there. That's fun. That we can read some of the words. We get London in there at least. So there we go. I've double stamped that one, and I actually really like it. We'll just line that up again because I can't read the word King's Cross, and we just put that in. Just about. There we go. That's fine. So those can come out of it. And then just a bit of fun, I found this stamp. I've never used it before. We're doing vintage adventure as a theme at the moment, and this one's got a hot air balloon on it, so we'll just have a go at this. Why not? And just add in the ink. There we go, we've inked that up, and we're just going to put that down there. And just apply some pressure, push down. See if we can get a hot air balloon onto this grungy paper here. All right, here we go. Oh, that's worked quite well. And I think this one would look quite nice if it was coloured in, so that's an option. And it's got some writing there. That says globetrotting, just about make it out, but I wouldn't really be able to line it up with one of these stamps. So I find those a bit more limiting. These are a bit more limiting, but the detail's often quite good. Anyway, this is a very rough, crinkly piece of paper. It wasn't nice and flat and smooth, so for stamping, you're not going to get the best impression if you're working with a crinkly, wibbly-wobbly piece of paper. So this is really cool, and what I thought is I could tear this now. So now I'm able to tear this. This is really quite fun, because I will be able to send this in Happy Mail to somebody, and I've given them the opportunity to use this piece of paper as something interesting like that in its own right. It could be the starts of a booklet, or it could be to fussy tear these things out. So we just do that. I'm going to tear that away. There we go. Now that's interesting on its own. Each little ticket could be cut out or torn out and decorated with something more interesting. Maybe little flowers or butterflies or some of the nice things that we like to use to embellish. They're really useful to have as a tear sheet, and we're just doing it as a mass make to get ourselves some tickets. But this is fun. So from here, either tear them out or cut them out. If we cut them out, they're going to look like this. Okay, tear them out, they're going to look like this. They're interesting. Nice on a grungy paper, and you can just keep cutting them out, and you'll have a collection of tickets in no time. And it is just a really quick, simple way, but it's all about making the background interesting. So these look fun. These actually look quite authentic because they've got a mottled effect on the background, and that was created by using some oxide ink splatters. So you can use that from your ink pad, or if you've got a spray, then you can have the spray, and then you get the oxidized splatters onto some packaging paper, and that could just be the paper that comes in with parcels. So that's how that looks. Nice little one here. If you've got a tearing ruler, you can tear out bigger labels and things like this, and then that will give a torn edge, which is quite nice. You can also fussy tear it out like that, just pull it off and have it like that. So there we go. So these are coming together now. So this is something that I could send as an interesting scrap, and then these could be fussy cut out or torn out by somebody else receiving them, and they could make up a story or a theme depending on what they want to be talking about. This is a label from the different coloured paper, so that came out of there. And then if you start pairing it up with a different ticket, you can see that you're starting to make something interesting. And then if you put a flower or a butterfly straight on that, it's a really interesting and flat little cluster that you could make. So these are just fun ideas for mass making. You can also paint or decorate in a different coloured pen, something like that. And this is a nice little scrap, so I've just cut it out, but I've folded it, so you've got the elements there, and then you've got this folded piece here. So these are just fun little things that you can add as a scrap if you're gifting it to a fellow crafter. If you find fussy cutting difficult, then you might want to choose larger stamps that you use so that you're not limiting yourself. These are nice little scraps to keep, and then you can cut out the elements as you might need them. These tickets look like that, where they've got the text. You can orientate them the right way round, and then this one could be one that goes in a lengthways. So that's a nice idea, and then you can add these little extra pieces onto them and team it with a ticket, and suddenly you've got something quite interesting. So maybe a die cut, something interesting, and then you can start seeing how these can become really interesting. And they don't always have to be colourful, but you know, if you've got some stickers, that sort of thing, you can start using your supplies. You just start tearing into them. And don't worry about what the images are, because that's now a lovely background, and you just put the things on top. So you just would use it as a background piece with some other paper, maybe a plainer piece of paper that's going to go in there, and we just start building it up like that. I'm going to tear these. And because this was the stamping set and it worked in a block, I can fold that in. So I've given the option here that these could be cut out and we could create the tickets, or they can be used like a little extra page in a journal, or something that flips out is an interesting background. These could be decorated. If this is a bit too grungy for you, then you could layer it with some of the other scrap paper that perhaps you pulled off from earlier. You could put some fussy cut images from a magazine or an old book, and then just layer it with some interesting elements, and you've got quite a nice arrangement just using your stamps. And then that is it could be a journaling card, and then that could become a pocket. It could create something onto a page. So these are just interesting ideas. I think they'll probably work very nicely as tickets, these ones. So we'll just cut out the ones that I can see here. So these are where they were overlapped. Again, that could be something that goes across the page. It's all decorated up and it's just an interesting background piece. Or if anybody's wanting to do some grunge journaling, the fact that it's over stamped is just, it adds to it. It's quite chaotic in its look. It's got all the different, it's got inks on it, and it is just an interesting scrap in its own right. And again, you can tear bits off, you can crease it up, you can just have a play. It's just play with paper. This is just a bit of fun, and the tickets look interesting. So now you can make a little booklet out of that strip if we fold it up properly. So that's another cool idea. So mass making using your stamps is a real winner. It looks lovely when you use flowers or butterfly stamps, anything like that. These tickets are going to look nice on most projects, so it is quite a good little idea to have a few in your stash. And it's a quick and fun and inexpensive way of building up a few nice elements, especially if you have these things already in your supplies. It's just nice to dust them off, and it looks nice when they work together as a collection, how they were intended on the pack, and then you can decide whether you want to keep it as a scene. They're just as fun to tear out as well. That gives you a nice edge to ink around. And these could fit with a theme if you go around with a different coloured ink. If you like to use a mahogany ink. If you like to use a rusty coloured ink, that could be really fun. Just sort of sit here tearing them out, and before you know where you are, you've got loads and loads of tickets. It's just really good. You feel quite accomplished at the end of it because you have come back with something that you could then go and craft with. Just nice to pull from these things, add to page spreads, and then be able to put some paint or decoration on, but you've already spent the time making them, so they're there ready to go. You can add on little embellishments, you can sew on buttons. Where we're missing text, that doesn't matter because we can add, because you could maybe add a bit of fabric and then a bead or a button, something could just jump in there, and it's interesting. Just nice little things. And this is the hot air balloon image. I think that'd just be quite fun to cut out. So I'm going to do that on this background, and then that's just something interesting to come and live on a page in a journal if you so wish. But just have a look at what stamps you've got, and also stencils as well. You might have some interesting stencils which you can just do this over the top of an interesting background. Maybe some papers that have gone a bit stronger in the coffee dye, or if you've got some ink splatters or drop papers. It's a good idea. It's an old idea. We've seen it before, but it's just wonderful just to be reminded of it. And then it's nice when you want to carry on getting on with your crafts and you've already got a stash of these. You can add them to a little ephemera holder, or you can add them to a tin, and then you've got them all when you need them. And it's nice to use these odd papers because it's probably different to the paper that you're working on with your project, so they do come and just look a bit different. You never know when that colour paper is just going to look to be the right thing that you want for that particular piece. Then you've got options. Just once again, something very simple from nothing and quite fun to play about with. See what you like. That could be a journaling card, and that's the tuck. And it's just interesting with the tickets behind it, giving it a general feel that we're going somewhere. So I think I might even glue that down. That looks quite good. It's just a nice little idea. So there we go, just fun to play around with, and you won't know until you do it, and you cut them out, and then you can play and see what it is you've got, what looks good, what looks fun on a background, how you can incorporate them, how you can add your colourful pieces, and then have a photograph or a paper doll or something just with this interesting background. So yeah, look at this, loads of little tickets and things all to come and live in a tin, and then we've got these things to play with. Absolutely plenty of things. Okay, so I'm going to add these in here so that I can find them. And there we go, lots of ideas and ways that we can use these tickets, and then obviously store them in our little ephemera holders and things that we can just pull from and have and just enjoy when we need them. And little elements that have been cut out, they can come and live in here too and just make up some fun extra background pieces. For some fun vintage or grunge journaling, it's just a really nice idea to use the splattered papers. So I hope you enjoyed this quick idea. Do please like and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more videos. We've got lots coming up in the future, and talking about vintage adventure is one of the journals that I'm working on, and also I shall be taking you on a further adventure to the Lost Garden, so do stay tuned for that. So do press the bell icon to be alerted of the next videos, and you can follow along with the stories there. So thank you very much for watching, and above everything else, just slow down and make crafting time for you. Bye bye now.